Welcome to the Longest Take podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Longest Take podcast. In today's episode, we are joined by Chris Nash. Chris Nash is a writer and director, most notably directing In a Violent Nature from 2024. In a Violent Nature is an awesome exploration of the slasher genre, but taking it from the perspective of the killer themselves. It is one of my favorite horror movies within the last decade, and probably one of my favorite slasher movies in the past 2 decades. Please welcome Chris to today's episode. What are your top 5 favorite movies?
Was that on that list of questions you gave me?
Yeah, that was the top one.
Oh man. Okay, so let me I don't know why I glossed over the hardest question
Right.
on the entire list. Okay. Let me think. So The Natural for sure is one of them. I really like The Natural. I would have to say Evil Dead 2, just for like just being as inspirational as it is. I think Bottle Rocket. I'm just trying to think of like the movies that like really inspired me when I was like growing up in my teen years, that like made me want to and the things like I've lived with since childhood. The Natural was one of the movies that I would watch over and over again as a kid, that we just taped off of the television. And Evil Dead 2 was just like that preteen era of discovering it on VHS and not even realizing that it was any way connected to Army of Darkness until we started watching it, because like Army of Darkness had the TV spots and it was like really exciting, and then like, oh wow, this is the whole movie of what happened before. Yeah, as I was growing more into like experiencing film and like really looking at it as more of an art form and something to want to pursue, Bottle Rocket, Wes Anderson's first film, I still feel like his best movie. Maybe Rushmore is better, but yeah, I really adore that movie. Other films that are just kind of like, I don't know, because there's movies, whenever you get this question, like there's movies that you want to just say to seem like, you know, like you're a bit of a film snob, and you know your shit, but yeah. I really like Fly Away Home is a movie that I will watch whenever I just need to feel feelings, I guess. I kind of love that movie, that like old I think it was Disney, I don't know, with Anna Paquin and Jeff Daniels.
Is that the one where they're in the plane and they have like the geese or something?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah.
Where they have to chauffeur geese through the migration pattern. It's honestly such a beautiful movie. And number 5, what can I say for number 5? I usually kind of leave this to more like contemporary films, but so I'm just gonna throw in like the last movie that I feel like really kind of blew me away. It was probably Fuck My Son, the new Todd Rojo movie. I can totally understand why it's so divisive, but I really fucking love it. I think it's like the most perfectly like unsettling and offensive and like intelligent contemporary midnight movie. It was a blast to watch.
Yeah, and it's still making festival rounds, or is it gearing up for a release anytime soon?
I've got no clue. My producing partner, Peter Kaplowski, programs the Midnight Madness section at the Toronto International Film Festival. So he actually premiered it, and so I know it's been doing like the festival run since then. So like, you know, start of September. But yeah, I really just love that film. It's like I watched it with the same kind of excitement, I think, as a kid watching Evil Dead 2. It was just so chaotic, and calculated, and aware of like what it was doing. And well, I mean, it's got some backlash because it includes some AI elements in it, but and AI usually like really puts me off. But there's something like I've always said AI in itself is kind of like operates on this dream logic where like I watch AI videos and it feels like I'm in a nightmare, and it pairs so seamlessly with everything that Todd Rohal directed, like with actors in the film, that I just feel like it's like the most perfect marriage of the nightmarish, uncanny aspects of AI and like an actual narrative.
Yeah, so it all kind of like thematically it fit, you're saying, with just the way that AI is usually presented, and just how it sounds like this movie is, because I haven't seen any. I've only heard of this movie, but it just sounds like it would kind of have that odd, uncanny Nightmare Valley or nightmare aesthetic to it that you only get from AI videos.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is that exact same thing of like trying to walk upstairs and they're just turning into like mud. It's like that's
Right.
the feeling you get watching Fuck My Son. And yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And is Macon Blair's in that, right? Does he have a big role or a small role in it?
I know it's like a yeah, it's a cameo at the end.
Okay.
It's not a huge role, but it's really memorable.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, you unlocked a childhood memory of mine with that the Fly Away Home or whatever. Because I even after watching the movie, every VHS that I had for a long time, it had that trailer in it for that movie. Like all those movies released around the same time, they were all connected, and you get the VHS of one, and it's just like everything's on it, all the trailers.
Yeah, that feels like a real like Free Willy on VHS trailer, you know? Like
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least Free Willy 2. One of them would have had the Flyway Home trailer on it, yeah.
Yep. Oh man, that I haven't watched a VHS in a long time. With horror being so connected to like more old school physical media like VHS, have you watched anything on VHS in the last like couple of years?
Um, Sometimes I think the last time I watched anything on VHS was probably uh that's a tough one. My other producing partner, Shannon Hanmer, her partner is like a real collector of media. And so like he watches VHS every now and then. And I'm pretty sure Steve Kostansky in his shop, like he'll throw on a VHS every once in a while. It's been a long time since I've actually watched like thrown on a tape. I think I've probably watched like a Super 8 reel of some cartoon more recently than I've watched a VHS.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, there's something about the grainy aesthetic of that at least with VHS and horror, because like Terrifier 3 I think had a VHS release. Alien Romulus had one too. There's something, I think maybe it taps into renting a random obscure horror movie back in the 90s. That's why you have a lot of these companies and these movies that are like modern releases in VHS, which I think is so interesting. But Super 8 cartoon. What cartoon was that? And like, do you have like a, what is it, like a projector when you play that? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not okay. Yeah.
yeah. I only delve as far as like Super 8, and if I'm at like a thrift shop and I see like one of those old 2.5 minute reels of like an abbreviated, almost like Reader's Digest condensed movie, I'll usually pick it up, or like there's just fun stuff on those. And so like
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry cartoons, or like the old Batman, like cereal. I've got like a couple of those. Yeah, I don't know, just the tangibility of them, all the scratchiness. I really like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I've heard of people that they collect like 35 millimeter prints of things, and I just think that getting that Super 8, the Super 8 print, I think would look really cool, and it's probably a lot easier to play than like a 35 mil. But Black Phone 2, I think when they filmed it, I think it's authentic Super 8. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
I haven't, no. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they actually used like authentic Super 8 in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always so interesting to me, and it seems like Scott Derrickson's been into that for a while, because I think his last few projects, he's in. I mean, Sinister's the one that started it all, with him being so into those tapes, because that was like the focus of the plot with that one is the Super 8 footage. But is this why, like with and I correct me if I'm wrong, but the aspect ratio on In a Violent Nature is different, right? It's a little more boxed in.
Yeah, it's like Academy ratio. It's 4:3.
Okay.
It's the same ratio as VHS. That's like why we did it. It wasn't anything to like, get a specific kind of frame or anything. We just making In a Violent Nature as like a throwback, and like really kind of living in that world of wanting to present the film as like something in the middle of a series of slasher films that you would have just watched like in the 80s. I just really wanted to be on like in that kind of Academy ratio of 3:4, because I don't know, it's just how I grew up watching them. So
yeah, and I mean, hearing you talk about the Super 8s and everything too, it's just, it connects more with me now. Like I see it now, and I think that makes it more interesting revisiting In a Violent Nature, and just, kind of I want to go back and watch it again and just think about it like, oh, I just rented this from Blockbuster, and this is the middle in a series. I just think that's a really compelling way to kind of I think go after any story.
Definitely. I think there's so many. Okay, this is kind of slightly a rant, and
it's all good.
For as little story as In a Violent Nature contains, there is like, I feel with a lot of movies these days that there isn't like starting as late as you can and into a film, and even like, with this one kind of like starting the whole movie 2 or 3 movies in and like making the audience catch up. But I just find that so many films and within the genre umbrella, by the time I get to the end, it's like I've only watched the first act. It's like the turn into Act 2. They're like, so many filmmakers are treating as like, oh no, that's the conclusion. That's like the twist ending. And where it's like, no, there should be an entire movie happening after this. And so we like doing something like just jumping in mid-series and like making everybody catch up is kind of like, is kind of that going in the face of that pattern I'm finding of movies just being more premise than story, and not actually finding the story in the premise.
Yeah, no,
which I could say I'm totally guilty of too. Like I will.
Right, but I think that there is something to point out with that, because that there have been a number of movies where you watch it and you could tell like, okay, they had a really solid idea, and that's kind of what they put all their chips in on the idea, but they didn't like flesh it out at all. And you'll get these creators, these filmmakers who will flesh it out, and then the movie ends up being a flop, or it's received poorly because maybe it was too long. There was too much of fleshing out. I think The Empty Man from 2020 or something like that is a good example of it, where it's like a 2.5 hour long horror movie that takes its time with everything it's laying out, but then it's not received all that well because it's like, okay, there was too much now, right? Like it's too little or too much. There's like an impossibility of finding that sweet spot, I think. Or it seems like.
And that film too, I think is like, I think it's like an amazing movie and like what it's doing. But at the same time, like, get it. I get like even the intro alone is its own like super fun, tight, short film. And
I love the intro. The first 20 minutes before you get the title card, and it's like that. It's amazing. Yeah. I'll always sing the praises of that one. But yeah, I always think of that when we talk about things like premises and undercooked movies, I guess you could also call it, because we do get these ones that come out and then there's not enough visibility to it or something, and that's why you'll have studios and other people that they don't take that gamble, because they're like, well, we'll undercook it, it'll be shorter, which means it could get more theater spots possibly, and then we'll still make our money back for that, and then we'll work on the next thing. I think that there's they're trying to tap into maybe a shorter attention span at some point.
I think I would say you're not like completely wrong. I think a lot of studios, and this is just from like what I've garnered doing like the tour after In a Violent Nature came out, they're just trying to gauge where audiences are at. Like, it's really hard to figure it out, and from as much as you want to like paint this picture of studio heads being like just looking for the bottom line and that's it, every single one that I've met, like every single exec that I've met, actually, like, they're huge movie fans. They're like, they love movies, and they all really want to make great stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just that as much as you want to make something great, it just doesn't always turn out that way. like one person can be late delivering a coat one day to set, and that sets everything back, and then that just starts a cascade that like will destroy your film. And they just, I feel like a lot of them just have to contend with that, and it gets to a point where where are we sending good money after bad, and that's when it's like a cut our losses type thing. Like, let's just put it out, try to make as much as we can. But I don't think I don't necessarily think there's any like kind of maliciousness or taking the audience for granted or anything like that. Like, everybody kind of they're just trying to figure it out. Like, everyone's just trying to figure it out right now. The media landscape is so messed up, and nobody knows like who's making money. Like, the fact that anybody thinks streamers are making money is like ridiculous. They just aren't. There's a set ceiling to how much money you can get from a subscription base, and I think we've surpassed that. I think whoever is going to subscribe to Netflix has already done it, and there's and so like they're just like speculative assets. All these streaming companies are just speculative assets that are getting that are making money just based on their like stock value, and that's it. That's like the reason why whenever like the Writers Guild went on strike, and one of their demands was they want to see like exactly what the viewership is. They want to get the ratings and to see like what kind of numbers the project they're working on are doing, so they can use that as a bargaining piece for when I'm going to get hired again. But these streamers will never release those numbers, because as soon as the stockholders realize like how much people are not actually watching, completely watching these shows, then the whole game falls apart. So
yeah, no, and I think that's a good thing to bring up, especially we talk about studios, and I also don't think there's malicious intent with studios. I think that at worst, I think it's just that inability to tap into what the audience wants. I think that I don't. If anything, I think of it kind of like how the movie or the TV show The Studio painted it, where Seth Rogen was like this like movie buff like producer guy, but he was just trying to navigate all this crazy shit happening or whatever. I feel like that's accurate. I feel like a lot of it's just trying to figure stuff out, and I think when it comes to the streamers, I think that's where it's like you said, where they're getting that money compared to what they're producing and putting out. It's just like they're coveting it, and I think that not releasing that is damaging to people that are trying to still work in the industry, and they're trying to get jobs with a streamer or a project that's going to be on streaming. I think that I'm surprised that nothing has been put out with that. Like, I'm surprised there's no transparency there yet after the strikes.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they were never gonna release the numbers. Like, it was just never gonna happen. Right. So So they get their consolation prize of like all of their other demands, and that's it. But they'll never release those numbers. It's just it's all they have. That's the only thing they have. The only bargaining chip they have is we will never let anybody know what our viewership is. But you think it's something like, I forget who just brought it up, but like something like The Electric State, which was like
I was just
over
thinking about that one.
Yeah. And the only time anybody thinks of The Electric State is like when they think of like how everybody's already forgotten The Electric State. Like it's not remembered even as a movie. It's remembered as a product that failed. Because and it's just, these are the times we're in, and these are what everybody's trying to navigate and figure out, like, what do we do next?
Yeah, because with a subscription model, like you said, I mean, people who want it, they already have it. You don't get like a monthly basis. You're getting money from the your subscribers, but when you're putting 300 million into a project like The Electric State and there's no tangible return on it except maybe views, I mean, how do you keep making stuff? How do you justify that?
Yeah.
Where are you like seeing the profit? I mean, maybe they're also quiet about it because once they kind of show their hand with that piece of it, it opens the door for more competitors. Maybe, if other potential streamers or wannabe streamers, they are able to see exactly what it looks like behind the scenes for Netflix, it helps them navigate it just as successfully.
I think it would just make everybody breathe a sigh of relief, going like, oh, okay, we're not the only ones. We're just fucking barely keeping our head above water here.
Right, that's a good point.
With this whole shell game. Aside from Tubi, I think Tubi is like the only one that's really kind of killing it.
It's free. Yeah. It's just like ads, right? Isn't that like all their revenues through the ads?
And I'm pretty sure they're localized too, right? Like they do have some sort of like ad localization, so like you're getting ads like from if you're living in Toronto, you're going to get an ad from like that area, and aside from like the the transnational brands. But yeah, I mean that seems like the model where it's like, hey, we can sustain ourselves, and they're making original stuff now too. So
yeah, and they've also got an incredible catalog. I mean, you'll have like a movie that was made on a $5 budget, and then you'll have like these like award-winning esteemed films from like 50 years ago. I absolutely adore the catalog that Tubi has. It's unparalleled, I think.
No, because it feels like TV. It feels like the TV I grew up with, like it feels like those kind of movies where it's like a Sunday afternoon and you don't know whether you're watching like, Gulliver's Travels or some horrible TV edit of Subspecies, It's just
right, exactly.
It's such a roll of the dice.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Tubi. I wish there was a better quality streaming option for it, like 4K UHD, watching some of the things, but I'll take what they give me. I'm not picky.
Well, it's not like any of these things were ever made for 4K.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's a great point. So getting back to In a Violent Nature, my headcanon, I don't know if this was ever officially stated anywhere, but I feel like it kind of started like a little trend with horror movies in particular, because last year we had In a Violent Nature. Beginning of this year we had Presence, which was from the perspective of the ghost, and then we most recently had Good Boy, which was from the perspective of a dog in a horror movie. So it's just like this perspective horror, which I think is like a cool little niche that was underexplored before your film came out. What was like, what was the genesis of that idea?
The genesis of the idea started with watching Gus Van Sant. Those three names. Right. Gus Van Sant's Jerry when I was like just entering film school. And just the aesthetic of it, and what he was doing and like how much time he took and how patient the film was, I thought was like incredibly engaging. And then after that he made Elephant, And it was the same kind of thing, just like letting the characters like pull the camera along and following behind and letting them walk through spaces and engage in their environments. And it was such a casual film for dealing with such heavy and horrific material. And we continued that with Last Days. And I really love those films. I love everything about them, and they're so hypnotic. And when I watched them, I just questioned being such a genre fan and being like a genre kid growing up. Like, what would that look like? How would you take that kind of filmmaking aesthetic and move it into like a genre film? And just a slasher seemed like the best choice for it. And then who would be the most interesting character in a slasher film? And I just thought, well, it would be the slasher itself. It would be like, so the whole conceit behind In a Violent Nature was asking, like, what would it look like if Gus Van Sant directed Friday the 13th Part 3? Like that kind of thing. That's what we were playing with, and just followed that to where it took us. And I think as far as like perspective horror goes, it's neat that it's happening. I mean, Presence and In a Violent Nature premiered at the same time on at Sundance, so it's not like one beat the other. They just the release was just out. Yeah, but it was like really interesting for us when we were reading like the other films that were premiering and seeing that Soderbergh had like the same kind of thing, but from a ghost perspective. And yeah, it's neat to be like included in a wave of something. I'd love to see like what happens next, and if like what other perspectives of characters are gonna be like can be explored in this. I haven't seen Good Boy yet, though, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that one's adorable. The good boy, he was the goodest boy. The dog actor was great. Did a really good job, but I don't know if you've read it yet, but I think it took over 400 days to shoot, just because it was just like the guy, his wife, and his dog, and just getting the dog to, cooperate with filming. Yeah. So it took a long time to film, but I think it turned out really great.
Yeah, I really want to watch it now that I've got some time.
Yeah,
check it out.
Absolutely. And I really like that angle with Gus Van Sant. I'm a huge Gus Van Sant fan, and that voyeuristic nature of those films you mentioned of his. I absolutely think that just using that for In a Violent Nature was there's like a. Anytime I watch a movie that has that angle to it, I gravitate towards those movies more, because it feels more like immersive in the sense that, instead of you're watching a movie, you're like kind of watching something happen in real time, in a sense, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I think that something like that I don't often see in movies. So every time it happens, I really appreciate that, and how it takes its time with it. Especially Last Days. I mean, it's literally just drugged out, not Kurt Cobain, like in his mansion, just bumbling about until the end of the movie. And I think that there's a poetry to that mundaneness, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
And I think you captured it perfectly in A Violent Nature. I think that it really, like, you nailed that style, that aesthetic.
Well, thank you. I mean, the secret is always just ripping people off.
Right, yeah. That's for any artist. Yeah. Right. They're ripping someone off.
Yeah, just playing covers. That's it. That's it.
Right.
Other people's songs in your voice. That's all you can do.
Yeah. And also just, kind of on that same note, recently even watching this movie on its 4K physical release, it, on top of this voyeuristic nature, it also feels like ASMR in a sense, with the scenery, and just like, you don't get music, you just get like the crunching of like the grass and everything beneath his feet. You hear the ambient noise of the forest. I'm curious to know, like, how much footage did you actually shoot of just walking around, and how much of that was like cut compared to the final cut?
We shot quite a bit. So I'd say like for some of the shots at the start, like when the after Johnny kills the poacher and goes back to like the poacher's house, and he's like leaving it and he's walking back to where the poacher's body is through the woods. Like that, for instance, that was each one of those shots was, I think, probably at least 45 seconds to a minute long, cut down to I think less than 5 seconds. It's all just finding these like little tiny moments where you're like, yeah, that feels like the right point. So that was probably the ratio. It was probably like at least 10-1, at a minimum, of what was shot to what was used. And I mean just in take length, not even like the amount of takes afterwards. So yeah, it was quite a bit more, because we knew the tone, and like I knew the tone that I wanted to achieve going in, but originally, in my mind's eye, the film was going to be a lot more, like even more walking. Like I was just like, yeah, we're gonna just groove out to what's happening here. We're not gonna to push anything. But as we were editing, we just learned that we kind of had to get to the set pieces quicker. Like, and you could still keep that tone, and that whole atmosphere is still maintained. It's just that once you have deliver enough information for the audience to know, where Johnny is going, where he is, and where he is, then you can cut out of it. Like what Johnny's doing, where he's headed, and where he currently is. As soon as those three pieces of information are communicated, then just like cut out of that shot, because you're really giving the audience nothing else. And it allowed us these moments where we felt like, okay, now we can hang out with the walk a little longer. So like after the yoga kill, that's when we were like, okay, now we're just gonna do a minute and a half of him walking through the woods.
Yeah.
Because we felt like, we kind of earned this, and we want to really show the counter of like the violence and just the really nice, relaxing atmosphere at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just speaking of longer takes in general, which, if you didn't notice, my podcast is called The Longest Take because I'm obsessed with like oneers, long shots. The sequence in the water, the way you shot that, he walks in the water, and I'm guessing, does he turn and he gets out of the water like off camera? Did you do anything like, what were some of the tricks you did in that sequence? Because I know there were quite a few long shots of going in the water, and then I think when she's getting killed, she's like bobbing up and down in the water. What were some of the tricks with shooting that scene?
That can be like completely attributed to our VFX team, Wild Effects, because we just shot, like, locked down the camera and shot different plates. So we would just shoot a plate of Johnny like walking into the water, and we'd make sure that he was not going to be crossing over like where the actors are going to be on the dock across the lake. So we just shot everything in separate plates and had the VFX team composite them on top of each other. And the work that one of the things that I thought was going to be a complete nightmare, and I'm sure it was, but afterwards just realizing all the ripples in the water, like, how do you account for that? But they did a great job. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The magic that they spun, but yeah. So it was all just plates that we composited together to get that and hold that for as long as possible.
Oh, that's awesome, because yeah, I mean, to your point, the ripples, that's something that even I was looking at it in that, and I'm just like, oh, I wonder how this was done. But VFX, yeah, your team did an incredible job with that then.
Yeah, I can't believe the work they did on that. That was like such a heavy VFX shot for being an invisible VFX shot, because nobody will look at that and go like, oh yeah, that's all VFX.
Yeah,
because there's so many natural elements to it. But yeah, no,
right, that's
a lot of VFX.
That's awesome. And speaking of FX, so you mentioned him earlier, Steve Kostanski. You guys have a lot of crossover. He did practical effects on In a Violent Nature. I had seen at least one behind the scenes video with him in it, and you're attributed to, having a part in The Void and Frankie Frico, and I think Psycho Goreman. Did you do VFX in that, or any sort of special effects in that?
I was the onset practical effects key. So just like Psycho Goreman dresser, essentially.
Oh.
And and I did a few other things. Like I made the Tube Man puppet and something else, who was one of like the council members.
Right.
He has that jar thing on his head. But yeah, and with Frankie Frico, I didn't do too much work on. I was helping him like with puppet armatures. I kind of work more in armature stuff, not so much sculpting and like running molds and things. Like I can't do that, but I'm usually like kind of called in for any kind of construction-y type builds more than anything. Yeah. But we've been working together since The Void.
Okay.
We met I couldn't tell you, maybe 2010. I think I had a short that I had done that was premiering at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, where Father's Day was having its premiere.
Oh.
So Toronto After Dark, one of the things that they do, which is really like great and beneficial to like Canadian short filmmakers, is they always, at the start of their features, they'll always air or show a Canadian short. And so mine played in front of Father's Day, and Peter Kaplowski, again, producing partner, also producer on Psycho Goreman and Deathstalker, and The Void as well. He's very, like, part of what he does and what he's great at. He's such a huge fan of filmmakers, and he's just great at connecting people. And so from the early days, he was sent like Steve's older shorts to play at Toronto After Dark, and he just fell in love with Steve and Astron 6 and like everything that they were doing. And he was constantly saying like, oh, you should really meet these guys. Because like I initially met Pete through a short I did, and during the inaugural year of Toronto After Dark, and we just became friends after he programmed it. So yeah, that was where Steve and I like first had our first face-to-face meeting, and an introduction, and then we were both a part of the ABCs of Death 2, and that's where we kind of just became closer friends. And by the time The Void was being made after ABCs of Death, they were shooting it in like where I'm from in Sault Ste. Marie, so I could be brought on as like a local hire. And at that point in time, I wasn't advertising any kind of like special prosthetic effects work. I was pretty much just like worked in my basement and my garage, and didn't like feel like didn't know if I was doing anything right. I felt like I was so self-taught that like if I worked in a studio, I would just be judged. And it was during that time, like some downtime when he was prepping for The Void, he came over to my garage to help me out with a music video I was working on, and he was just like, you should just work in a shop, like, you know what you're doing. And I was like, I don't know. And then he said, no, you're gonna work on The Void. And so yeah, he hired me on The Void, and that was like the first like professional gig I got. But yeah, you can like I know on the DVD and stuff, like in the making of and the behind the scenes, like I'm in a few of those things, just, being very like just not taking anything seriously at all.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best ways to go about a production sometimes, is just like, don't take it too seriously, like have fun. Like I don't think it's a sin to have fun with what you're doing,
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it gets annoying to people who are forced to take it seriously,
right? Yeah,
because they've invested years of their life into this film, and then you're just like, how are we gonna get through this? And I'm just cracking jokes in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Steve and I have we've known each other for years and years, and I love helping him out on anything that he's doing. And he came back and did some work on the sequel for us too. So,
oh, sweet.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we're probably gonna keep working together, helping each other out, and he's also just a great resource for like even just helping each other out with like scripts and stuff like that. Him more helping me than me helping him. His brain just kind of like fires immediately, and he seems to always just like have scripts that come out whole cloth.
Yeah,
It's
right,
just
right.
kind of like perfect. So the only downside to that is that it's hard to experience a Steve Kostansky movie um, the way a normal audience is when you're working on it. So like with Frankie Frico, I was like, I don't want to read the script, and I'm not going to look at any like I'm not going to ask any questions about whatever anybody is building, and I wasn't on set, so I was just like, I just want to walk into this completely blind and not know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, I think that that's one of the downsides when you work with so many creative artists, that when you see it behind the scenes, it kind of, it'll ruin that first experience you get when you watch it for the first time, because you're gonna identify things that, if you were on set, that you may have seen. But are there any other filmmakers or creatives out there that you also collaborate with?
Um, well, like, there's just filmmakers, like especially in Toronto, there's a pretty vibrant scene. So like everybody's kind of like, well, we all kind of know each other to an extent, and work with each other and like help each other out. So some other filmmakers in Toronto that we kind of that are kind of a part of it, and usually always on hand to like give an opinion at the very least are Matt Johnson from Nirvana, the band The Show, and he did a movie called Blackberry a couple of years ago, and he's like probably like incredibly successful here. And another one of my friends, Evan Morgan, who did a movie called The Kid Detective a couple of years ago with Adam Brody, and he's like always working on stuff and getting things done. Dusty Mancinelli and Madeline Sims Frewer, who directed a film called Violation a couple of years ago, that played at TIFF and played at Sundance and is on Shudder, and they just made another movie called Honey Bunch that's kind of finishing up their festival run right now. But yeah, there's just a lot of filmmakers in Toronto that are doing interesting things, and there's like a really vibrant like indie scene in Toronto right now too. There's a film that made the rounds a few months ago, like just a really interesting movie called The Pee Pee Poo Poo Man, which was sounds ridiculous, but it's actually based on a true life account of this guy in Toronto that was just throwing buckets of piss and shit at random people, and it was just about like how the movie's kind of about like how that affects you as a person when that happens to you, when you get violated in public like that. And yeah, like really interesting subject. But yeah, Toronto, there's just a lot of filmmakers here that are doing interesting things. So
yeah, and that's awesome to hear, because I wish I lived closer to areas where they had film festivals, like the prestigious film festivals, but the only one I went to back in 2013 was the Toronto Film Festival. And I think that it's really cool to hear that there's a city like Toronto where you have that really great, I guess, community of filmmakers. And I think that it makes more sense that TIFF is one of the biggest film festivals out there, because like it sounds like the city itself is a pretty good home to a lot of talented artists.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, the arts world in Canada, I find, is always kind of like interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there are, very much a contingent of like even just within the film community who will only work within the grant system. Like, so they'll, if they're not getting money from like Telefilm Canada or like the Ontario Arts Council or something to make their film, then they're just not getting the film made. Like there are like a whole division of filmmakers that are essentially like publicly funded filmmakers and who don't look for private financing. And I think that recently there's a lot more filmmakers emerging out of the city that that are either using a hybrid model or just going straight like private financing, like private money, or just becoming service productions for other entities outside of Canada. So it's pretty interesting, like what's happening now, just in terms of actually like the nuts and bolts of how films are being made.
Yeah, and I think that not so much maybe Ontario, but other parts of Canada, it sounds like there's been quite a few filmmakers gravitating towards Canada to film their projects.
That's kind of been the case for a while. Yeah. I just because I'm not really like friends with these other filmmakers, like as far as Canadian and like Toronto and Southern Ontario based filmmakers.
Right.
But the Collingwood Film group is another like amazing group of filmmakers like that are just doing wild, weird stuff. And everything that they do, I'm kind of like in awe of. They just take like huge swings. And there's another group called Black Fawn, who have been going at it and making films like just forever. And they just sold their last movie, The Undertone, got picked up by A24. So out of Fantasia. So like they're like on the uprise from this, and I don't know. It's just seems to be getting really exciting. Yeah. Sorry, I was only mentioning my friends. I was only mentioning people I know, and I was like, oh, I should mention these guys too.
Yeah, so Black Fawn and what was the other one? Collingwood?
Collingwood Film Co-op, yeah.
Okay, Collingwood.
Yeah, Collingwood is like a small like ski town in the Bruce Peninsula of Ontario. So.
Oh, awesome. I definitely want to, I want to look those groups up because, like, yeah, I mean, just any, even up and coming, any independent. I always love seeing what people are doing, and especially in other parts of this continent, at least.
Yeah.
To bring it back to the wonderful gore of In a Violent Nature, I'm sure you've talked extensively about the yoga kill in particular, and it got, I think, Dead Meat, the channel Dead Meat, gave it the best kill of last year or whatever.
Yeah,
or something like that, which is super cool. Because
great. And
especially when you're released the same year as a Terrifier movie, and like yours is recognized as like the best kill. I think that's pretty dope because, the Terrifier movies always get like, they always have these crazy kills in them. But what's kind of like your thought process and the creation process of making a kill? Like bring me from like the start to finish. Like, are you just going for a walk and you see someone walking and you're just like, I wonder what would happen if like someone just cut their head off, or they got ran over by a car? I mean, like, where does it stop? Where does it start and end with kills for you?
I don't actually know how to answer that in a way that's like too thoughtful, I guess, because I try not it's something that you try not to like, you don't want to jinx yourself when you think of like, oh, I've got the formula now for how to like come up with an interesting kill. I know one of the things that like I always think about, just coming from a prosthetics background, is when you're working on like different shows or like a different film or TV shows, it all becomes very rote as far as the kind of stuff you're doing. Like, how many like neck bites are you gonna do with a zombie show? It's gonna be nothing but like, just, okay, zombies biting somebody's neck again, that's great. Or we're doing another throat slash, somebody sneaking up behind somebody and slashing their throat, great. It always becomes like, it gets really monotonous. So when I'm trying to conceive of a death scene, I try to just think of, what haven't I seen before? Or if I've seen it before, what's a way that I haven't seen it? Like, what's a way that it's been presented that feels fresh? And then once you kind of like sketch something out, just like asking like, oh, is this the actual end? Like, is this the end of it? Or can we go further? and really trying to use the tools that are at your disposal in the scene in a way that's unique to them. So for like the yoga death, like what it was really important to me that it had to be something that utilizes the hooks that couldn't be replicated with anything else. Like it had to be actually like, oh, this is something that's very unique to Johnny having hooks to cause this death. And then in terms of like where does it end? It's like, okay, he's how uncomfortable can you get it? And then like how you grow onto that. So like even just starting with like, okay, he's gonna like pierce her with a hook. Where is he gonna pierce her? Okay, like how about like crashing it, like running it right through her skull? And it's like, okay, well, what happens then? How does it get there? And like you just kind of like develop this machinery of cause and effect to get it to a place. And then you add all the little like pepper in all the little details. Like with that scene, one thing that always gets a reaction is just there's a shot of the back of Aurora's neck where her vertebrae pops out, and that seems to get everybody just going like like they can feel it, like they can feel that more than anything. And finding those little tiny bits and moments within a death scene and like making those special, I think that's like really what gives the sauce its flavor, more than anything is just taking your time with it, I think, and doing whatever you can to make it a moment and not make it and not just like gloss over it. And that like really comes down to just like old school like giallo filmmaking too. Like that's such an Argento thing to be like, no, I'm just gonna like my entire death is gonna be a whole bunch like collage of different moments that all make you build the whole piece in your brain, but I'm not going to show you the like from a pulled back view of what's going on. I'm just going to show you the little tiny things, and you have to put that together yourself and let that carry you to its conclusion. So I think that as far as like the yoga death, like that's really what I was taking inspiration from, if anything. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing to try to intellectualize, like,
right? Yeah, because it's just a guy killing some people, like when you pull it back, like when you simplify it, like it's I get what you're saying.
But one thing that I will say is cutting away when people don't expect you to cut away is like has been proven to be pretty effective. Like I really like the character Troy who gets his head smashed by a rock, and just like so many times you see that kind of scene, and you see up until Johnny would have the rock over his head, and then he would start to bring it down, and then you would cut to like a profile of like a dummy getting their head crushed, but keeping it all there and like cutting out after it happens just seemed to make it like so much more effective and affecting.
Yeah, and was that more VFX work I mean, obviously you didn't just crush somebody's head, but how did you shoot that scene in particular?
We had the camera on a cable dolly strung in between trees, so it was just like a remote control cable dolly, and we got until the point where we choreographed it so Johnny would be straddling the Troy character, and the rock on the ground that he picks up is a foam rock that we modeled after a real one. And so he just lifts that as soon as he like lifts the rock up and over his head. Then we held frame. We stopped the camera. Like everybody, like it kept rolling, but we just had Rye, who was Johnny, like be in a holding position. And we pulled Troy out of there, and we threw in a Troy dummy, and we got him all in the exact same position. Who had a crushable head, and we just made him in as close to the same position as possible. And then we swapped out the fake rock with the real one. And then on action, just had Johnny throw it down. And then we used like VFX, then kind of blended the two parts together to make it as seamless as possible. But yeah, it was a lot of practical. It was like a really good marriage of practical and VFX.
Yeah, no, yet again, you guys did a really great job with making it seamless, because like, I mean, these are things where it's like, you know, just me watching it and, you know, understanding, like, obviously there was something, you know, there was some way to do this. I just think that being able to do it to the point where it's like you can't see the seams when you're watching it, I think that, you know, that's the secret sauce for filmmaking in general, right? Being able to marry those things together. So I'm very impressed with that.
Another thing too is, I would say to like anybody who wants to do anything like that with like prosthetic dummies, is grab eye plates of the actual actors. Like shoot your prosthetic first, and then put your actor in that same position, because it's easier to match the lighting. If you do it with your prosthetic and then do it with your actor rather than the other way around, because too many times like subtle movements happen when you're setting up the actual prosthetic dummy that changes. But yeah, grabbing eye plates and then just VFXing actual actors' eyes over top of the dummies, just it makes everything like it's a world of difference. Having dummies be able to blink like with real eyes, it changes the game as far as people wondering how things were done. So even the ranger getting put in the log splitter at the end, like that was all a dummy that we just like threw eye comps on. But it makes the difference for sure.
Yeah, and I was actually going to bring up the log splitter scene, because that's another one where it's like, you know, you really take your time with it. Like he even he puts the arm first, almost like he's like testing it out or seeing how that works, and then he goes and, you know, gets the head. But that's another scene where kind of what you were saying about with you know, with the yoga kill. Those are probably the two scenes that I would imagine are the you know, the biggest in terms of scope and how much time you spend with them, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's there's definitely truth to that. The log splitter scene was the easiest one to film, surprisingly, even though we had like one shot at everything. Yeah. It was just the one that was more simple, and we shot it all over one night, whereas I think every other effect was kind of a multiple day thing, aside from the head crush, because you only had one take at that too. But
right.
But yeah, I think just as long as you really think it through and kind of engineer how you're going to shoot things, it just gives you the room to play around more.
Yeah, and you know, and this question I'm about to ask, it's going to lead into this next question, which was going to be about the sequel. Which, I mean, I don't know how much you could really talk about it, but going into this sequel, kind of, you know, are you looking at it as like another situation where you want these, like, you know, kind of complex set pieces of kills where not that you're trying to one up the yoga kill or anything like that, but are you handling each kill in the sequel with that same consideration?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And not that we are trying to like one up the yoga kill, but we're trying to one up the yoga kill.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's like yeah, it's part of the fun, is to just see like, okay, like what can we do, and then how can we you know, make all the kills feel at least a bit special in the sequel. And yeah, we definitely have all that going in consideration, and even the fact that like Terrifier's out there, and like Terrifier is another movie that kind of like revels. It's another series that revels in its kills and its gore, and it seems like very similar to like what we do too, as far as like Damien is like is always getting his hands dirty, like doing the effects himself, and you know, he's you know, it's not something that isn't important to him, as far as like he clearly wants to be invested in it, and it's a huge part. Like him participating in the effects is just as important as and just as much of a stamp of authorship as like directing the film. And I think that there's a lot of similarities with what we're doing, with what he's doing, as far as that goes. And I just like the fact that there's now anyways, two gory slasher series that are gonna, you know, probably be bouncing off each other as far as a friendly competition. That's not a competition at all because we're so different as far as like our approaches.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So like what's the, I guess, what's the direction that this sequel is in? Are you able to say anything about just kind of, what you're doing with it? Anything about the story, if there's a story? I mean, have you wrapped...
story? No, we're not. We decided to not do a story for this one. No, I can't say too much at all.
Yeah, understandable
about it. One, because like we just want to keep the surprise in place, but also because I'm not legally not allowed to. So
right, yeah,
yeah. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. Anyways, I can say that for sure.
Yeah, have you wrapped filming on it already?
No, haven't. Still have a couple pickup days to go. But yeah, we're really racing against the winter right now.
Yeah.
So,
that's fair.
And yeah, we actually just had to pause because of a snowfall, and we're just pausing to like let the snow melt so we can shoot the last couple of things. So yeah.
Is it that same? Are you shooting in the same woods that you shot the first one?
No, it's a slightly different location.
Cool.
It's a couple hours in the other direction. We just wanted to shoot closer to Toronto this time around because logistically it's a totally different ball game. When we're shooting 8 hours out of Toronto and like a piece of equipment goes down, then it's like, oh, we lose at least a solid day getting that fixed. Whereas, just being like 2.5 hours out of Toronto, it's a lot easier. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so excited about that. Once I saw that it was announced that a sequel's coming, I'm just like, oh hell yeah, give us more, new age slashers. And you mentioned it too with Terrifier, but honestly, I think Johnny's my favorite. Like beating out Art. All love to Art, but I like the simplicity of Johnny, and I like how, because Art is so mean-spirited, but Johnny, he just kind of wants his thing, and he just wants to like go back to bed or whatever. Like he needs the pendant, right? That pendant means a lot to him, and I appreciated that element of it, but. When it comes to just like Johnny's story or not story, but are you ever gonna kind of harken back to his history? Because they talk about it in the first one, where it's just like, oh, this happened with this guy and his kid, this happened. Like, are you ever gonna touch on that cinematically?
I don't think so. Like, ideally, no.
Yeah. You want that mysticism anyway, and it's like you already talked about it, So like one of the things that I really like about, I find interesting about something like the Friday series, is that you can never pinpoint what it's actually about. Like you can only look at it as a series of films. Yeah.
But, and right. It's something where like I know even getting a new movie off the ground, like in the Friday series, it's like, what does that look like? I think they did there was a tremendous effort with what was it? I forget the year, 2009? Was that when
2009, the remake? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like a really, really great effort to like, how are we going to remake Friday the 13th? But every single movie is something completely different. Like every single movie is its own mythology, really, of like who Jason is, if Jason's actually in it, and like how Jason operates. So if you're remaking it, like what are they remaking? They're definitely not remaking the first movie where Jason doesn't show up. They're definitely not remaking Baghead Jason because that's not who Jason is anymore. And so then are they doing 3? Or are they going to go to, zombie Jason? Or like, it's like, where do you start when you're thinking of remaking things? And then it becomes, like all that's important essentially is the iconography of what Jason is. Like that's really they've done something where they've actually turned the whole series into its own mythology and own iconography, and that's what I like, and that's what I would like to do if In Violent Nature keeps going, is like just more expand on the idea of Johnny as a myth than Johnny as like a tragic character, you know, or like an angry Frankenstein. You know.
Yep. Yeah, and so are we gonna expect like Johnny Goes to Space, Johnny Takes Manhattan? We're gonna hit all those beats.
Yeah, like it's something that we joke about and we don't know how much we're actually joking. But when we talk about like, oh, we're just gonna rip off art house movies and make them slashers. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna, when Johnny Goes to Space, that's gonna be our Solaris. Where
perfect. That is perfect. Yeah.
And Johnny Takes Manhattan is gonna be our Midnight Cowboy. Where you just can't figure out the big city. He's just a humble country guy.
Right. Yeah, you know? See, you're selling me on it, so I hope you make those movies at this point. You're selling me on it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a satire of art house, and I love that. If anything, it's more of like an appreciation of it, but just, I don't know, just thinking about that Solaris and Johnny in space, that's just like, I didn't expect you to go Solaris with it, but I just think that's brilliant. That's brilliant for
the Johnny. Most obtuse marriage of two genres.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And speaking of iconography, just like, were you in the woods or at like a one of those like ranger stations and you saw that mask and you were just like, that would look cool for a slasher? Like, where did the mask come from?
I don't know exactly. I'm fairly certain that the mask, like my first exposure to the mask was a cracked.com listicle back in like the mid 2000s, like you know, late mid 2000s, back when cracked.com was like at its peak, and they like I swear it was an article of like just creepy relics of the past. And so yeah, that was an actual like vein batter smoke helmet. But we definitely screwed around with like the actual history of it. Like, it was never used in like forest firefighting or anything like that. It was mainly like you know, for, you know, metropolitan firefighters, and like, yeah, nobody was throwing that thing on to go, you know, hose down trees. But but looked cool. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, this thing looks terrifying. Somebody should really use it for a slasher at some point. And I just kept it in the back of my head and found a way to incorporate it into the whole history of the, you know, of Johnny in the area, where it didn't seem too out of hand.
Yeah, and it all fit. I think it fit really well together, and I think it's hilarious because I used to read cracked articles all the time back in the day, because they had like a list for everything, and I'm gonna look that up to see if there's still like an archive of that somewhere, just like relics of the past.
I think tell you what it is. Yeah,
because that's a blast from the past right there, with cracked. But you know, you love genre, and even with your assistance on like, you know, Kostansky's films that we talked about, just in terms of directing, are there any other sandboxes that you want to play in?
I love, there's a few things that like my dream projects, I guess. I really want to do a baseball movie. I love baseball movies.
The Natural, like that's
yeah.
You love that.
I just love baseball movies in general. There's something about them that are like, that just really put me in a way. I like the I really love the kind of like baked in Americana mythology to baseball and like how it's portrayed on screen. Um, you know, sometimes warts and all, sometimes in a much more polished, fanciful way. But I love baseball movies. Like The Natural, The Phenom is a criminally underseen film with Paul Giamatti and Ethan Hawke and Johnny Simons about like a pitcher who's going through the yips. Um, but yeah, so that would be one that I would love to do. Also, another dream project that will never happen, but I would love to do like a feature-length adaptation of Garfield's Halloween Adventure. I feel like, and treat the cartoon as just the first act, because like just that whole setup, I think it's like one of the scariest like seasonal cartoons like ever made, and I just always loved it growing up. So I mean that's one that'll never happen, but I would love to do that. Other than that, I kind of just want to, I'd be happy just making exploitation movies forever. You know, try like as long as they make some sort of profit for whoever's giving me the money to make them, then everybody's happy. So yeah, I I think I'd be pretty creatively satisfied either way.
Yeah, and you know what? I think just as as you continue to succeed with, something like In a Violent Nature and its sequel, I'm sure there's going to come a point where you're going to be able to make like at least like a baseball movie, right? I think that, you'll get to that point as a filmmaker where, you write that script and then they're gonna be like, oh, you're the In a Violent Nature guy. What else you got? And then you could be like, oh, I don't have anything horror. It's gonna be a baseball project. But but the good thing about, I guess, with you being in the business and collaborating and meeting people is like the networking will help you, with coming across that opportunity sometime down the line.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's the main feelers that I've been putting out, like any studio meeting I've had where they're like, what do you want to do next? I'm like, if you got any baseball movies, send them my way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And oh, what was I was just about to say something, but I forgot.
Well, I'm going to take this moment to plug the Ephus, then, which is a baseball movie that came out, I think, last year, which is just about... Yes.
That sounds so familiar. Hold on.
It's so good. And it's such a hang.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard of this one. Is it on, is it available on, like, VOD or streaming?
I'm not absolutely sure. I know it's been doing, like, a theatrical thing, but, like, it's so good. It's just about a rec baseball team that's, like, a rec baseball league that's having their last game at their like, little recreational park before it gets torn down. And so it's just a bunch of, like, middle-aged guys playing baseball, like, with zero stakes. But
I love that.
Yeah. Beautiful movie though.
Yeah, that's like you said, it's a good hang movie. I love those because it's like Richard Linklater, right? He's always really good about making those, and those end up having the most, like, I don't know, real feeling human characters. But I'm gonna
definitely with the Ephus. That's it. Like it feels so much like an early Linklater movie.
Oh man, you just sold me on it easily. First of all, what's that name from? What is that? What's Ephus?
It's a type of pitch, I believe.
See, I'm not well versed in anything sports related, but is it streaming on Mubi? Oh, that's what it says on here. If that's the case, then that's very good. I will watch that today after we get off this interview.
Oh, it is streaming on Mubi. Yeah, great.
Oh, hell yeah. That's exactly what I'm going to do after this. But speaking of that, I start my interviews and I end them with the same question for everybody. So to bookend this, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully just hopefully continuing to work and then make exploitation movies. That's it. That would be the dream, to have kind of like a Larry Cohen type career where you're just, making fun things that means something to you and can still manage to like sell popcorn for other people. So yeah, that's the goal. It's where I hope to be in 5 years.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining me. It was a pleasure. Like I said, I can't sing the praises of In a Violent Nature enough. I really enjoyed it. I loved how, because like I'm a big slow cinema fan, like Bellatar and Hugo and these other guys, where it's like their movies are just like 3 hours long sometimes, and you're just sitting with these characters in silence, and I just love that. And I feel like In a Violent Nature kind of tapped that part of my brain that I really like when it comes to those. So really means a lot that you got to talk with me, and yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, not a problem at all, Sean. Thanks so much for reaching out.